The village of Cinderford clung to the ragged edge of civilization, a collection of forgotten stone cottages shrouded in perpetual twilight. Beyond its last crumbling walls lay the whispering Blight, an ancient, oppressive forest that breathed tales of forgotten horrors into the cold night air. Here, in a secluded dwelling that bordered the woods, lived young Caleb with his parents, David and Sarah. Their lives were a tapestry woven with strict rules and unspoken fears, centered around one absolute decree: Caleb must never, under any circumstance, venture into the Blight. His parents, their faces etched with a sorrow he could not comprehend, spoke of unseen dangers, of things that waited beneath the ancient canopy. But their warnings, whispered with an almost desperate urgency, only stoked the embers of Caleb's nascent curiosity. He was a child often found staring out of his small window, his gaze fixed on the forest's looming shadows, its silence more unsettling than any scream. He felt the pull, a strange resonance in his bones, as if the woods themselves were a part of him, beckoning. One sun-starved afternoon, the opportunity arrived. Sarah had journeyed to the distant market town, leaving David slumbering heavily in his armchair, a victim of the day's arduous labor. A cottage, usually a heaven of quiet domesticity, felt suddenly vast and empty, filled only with the rhythmic drone of his father's breath. This was his chance. With a furtive glance at the sleeping figure, Caleb slipped out. The air in the Blight was heavy, damp, and smelled of decaying leaves and something else, something cold and metallic, like old blood. Twisted branches clawed at the perpetually overcast sky, and the silence was profound, broken only by the crunch of his own footsteps on the forest floor. He pressed deeper, his heart thrumming a frantic rhythm against his ribs. He sought no specific path, driven by an instinct he barely understood, until he found it. It was a monstrous sentinel, its trunk wider than his cottage, its limbs gnarled and blackened like fossilized lightning. It exuded an aura of ancient malice, an almost sentient dread, and from one of its thickest, lowest branches, something hung. It was a piece of raw flesh, an abomination of organic matter, pulsating with a sluggish, sickening rhythm. It was a dark, glistening lobe, the color of clotted blood, suspended by a fibrous stalk that seemed to melt seamlessly into the tree's bark. A faint, almost imperceptible warmth emanated from it, drawing Caleb in despite his revulsion. He reached out, his fingers trembling, and grazed its surface. It was warm, impossibly soft, yet firm, like a living heart. A strange, undeniable magnetism took hold. Without conscious thought, he detached it, feeling a faint, warm severance that echoed somewhere deep within his own core. The lobe felt heavy, surprisingly so, its irregular beat a faint vibration against his palm. He cradled it like a forbidden treasure, its alien warmth spreading through his small body. He smuggled it back into the cottage, concealing its grotesque form within an old wooden chest beneath his bed. In the following weeks, Caleb's life became a secret ritual. The lobe, he discovered, grew, slowly at first, then with an alarming voracity. He brought it offerings of insects, then small field mice, their tiny bodies vanishing into its expanding folds. Each time, a perverse thrill surged through him, a sense of profound connection to this growing, pulsing horror. The lobe began to hum, a low, resonant thrum that only Caleb could hear, a lullaby of burgeoning darkness. As the lobe swelled, so too did Caleb's obsession. He neglected his studies, avoided his parents' worried gazes, and spent his days in the shadowed confines of his room, tending to his ghastly charge. His appetite dwindled for common food, replaced by a strange, gnawing hunger that the lobe seemed to placate, yet never truly satisfied. He grew gaunt, his skin pallid, his eyes sunken and shadowed. Whispers began to slither into his mind, soft at first, then growing louder, more insistent. They spoke of hunger, of growth, of consumption. They spoke of him. David and Sarah watched their son with growing terror. His vibrant spirit had been extinguished, replaced by a hollow-eyed stranger. They tried to question him, but Caleb recoiled, clutching an unspoken secret to his chest. He was fading, a candle flickering in a gathering gale. One moonless night, the whispers reached a crescendo. "Eat me," a chorus of ethereal voices urged, seemingly emanating from the very core of the pulsating lobe. "They come whole. They come one." Caleb, weakened and delirious, felt an overwhelming, primal urge to obey. He reached for the lobe, his trembling fingers closing around its warm, fleshy bulk. Just as his mouth opened, a frantic cry shattered the silence. David and Sarah burst into the room, their faces ashen with a terror that mirrored his own. Sarah saw the monstrous thing in his hands and let out a strangled gasp. David, his eyes wide with a desperate knowing, grabbed the lobe, trying to wrench it from Caleb's grip. "No," he roared. "It's killing you. It's always been killing you." Then, the truth, a chilling tale of grief and forbidden paths, spilled from Sarah's lips. "Caleb, you were stillborn. We lost you. The grief it twisted us. We found the old texts, the forbidden lore of the Blight. We took your tiny, lifeless body to that oak, that ancient, cursed tree. We performed the ritual, grafting your severed umbilical cord to its roots, begging for your life back." It answered. "You breathed again, but at a terrible price. That thing, it is your life force. Your twisted umbilical cord. It grows as it drains you, its hunger a reflection of the life it steals." A revelation pierced Caleb's fevered mind, but the lobe, now pulsing with a furious, alien beat, exerted a stronger dominion. It resonated with the dark power that flowed through his veins, the life that was never truly his. As David desperately tried to tear the lobe apart, Caleb's eyes snapped open, no longer human, but pools of swirling darkness. A guttural growl ripped from his throat, a sound utterly alien to a boy of his age. He launched himself at his parents, his gaunt hands imbued with unnatural strength. They screamed, a sound quickly stifled. The air grew thick with the metallic scent of fresh blood, mingling with the lobe's earthy, putrid odor. When the struggle ceased, only the rhythmic thrum of the lobe echoed in the silent room. Caleb, or what remained of him, knelt over his parents' bodies, his face smeared, his eyes vacant and hungry. With a terrible, primal urge, he brought the lobe to his mouth. He tore into it, its warm, viscous substance filling him, not as food, but as a final, terrible integration. His body convulsed, his skin rippled, and his bones seemed to dissolve, reshaping. He was no longer a boy, but emerging, a horrifying fusion of flesh and shadow, an entity born of stolen life and ancient malevolence. The cottage in Cinderford stood empty after that, a monument to a whispered tragedy. No trace of Caleb was ever found. But the whispering blight seemed to grow denser, its shadows deeper, its silence more profound. Travelers who strayed too close reported faint, sickening thrumming sounds from its heart, and the fleeting glimpse of a gaunt, dark shape that moved among the ancient oaks, forever bound to the cursed ground, a living echo of a life that should never have been. And sometimes, on the windless nights, a faint, metallic scent would drift from the woods, a chilling reminder of the dark, pulsating heart that still beat within the blight.